we are going to be dividing polynomials. 3, 4, 5 terms up top, and you're going to be dividing by like a binomial, so just 2 terms. And instead of doing what we did on like the previous problems where you just had one fraction and you reduced it, like you simplified it, sometimes you can't factor them to get like your final answer. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually do means the word synthetic. It means fake, right? So even though this is technically a division problem, we don't even use division to solve it, which is really nice. We end up using multiplication and addition over and over than subtraction and division. Okay, so what you guys are going to do is you're going to be given a problem like this where they have a binomial and we're dividing by the x plus 6. Okay, now these boxes are not typically do it on your own. I usually just draw the boxes and split it up into rows and columns. One thing to remember, so look up at the board, there are always going to be 3 rows no matter what. The number of columns are based on how many terms you see in the first polynomial. So how many terms do you guys see there? 4. Notice my exponents go 3, 2, 1, none. So middle anywhere. Okay, so 4 terms means 4 columns. So if I had drawn this myself, I would have made a really big rectangle. I would have split it into 3 rows. That's 4 columns, okay? In this top row, you're going to write all of the coefficients of these terms. So what number is in front of x cubed? 1. What number is in front of 5x squared? The 5. The x? -3, and then the constant. Okay, so your coefficients go across the top row. Right here, okay? I know you guys can do this in your head, but the way I'm going to get this other number is basically solving this one-step equation, setting the, whatever you're dividing by, set it equal to 0 and solve. So if that says x plus 6, okay, so that number I want you guys to put out here. You're going to put it right in front of that. Now, like I said, this number, most of you would just do in your head. You'd look at this and you'd say, well, if that says plus 6, I'm going to use a minus 6. First coefficient always drops straight down. So I'm going to bring this one straight down. Okay, because then from here on out, we are going to fill all these boxes with multiplication. The way you multiply, whatever number's at the bottom always gets multiplied by this. So right now we have a 1, multiply it by -6. First empty box. Okay, so we've multiplied this way, and then you add the 2 numbers straight up and down. We're at the bottom again, right? As soon as you get to the bottom, you multiply by that number out front. So what's -1 times -6? In the next column, the first empty box, and then add straight up and down. 3. And since we're back down to the bottom, what do I do with that 3? -18, and then add up and down. -22. But hang on, we got to write our final answer. So this top row was the original polynomial, right? These are the coefficients that we're going to use, or the numbers we're going to use in our final answer. If my original problem started with x cubed, but I've already taken one x out, should add 3, but I've already brought one out. Aren't there 2 left? Okay, so this number right here represents x squared. So it'd be 1x squared. And now we're just going to work our way down. Minus 1 would be x and x. So what will my 3 be? Will it have an x with it? No, it'll be the constant. Okay, now if that's the anytime you guys do division, there's always a possibility of having a remainder, right? If you think back to when you learned how to do long division, remainder. This, watch, this is how you write it. Don't do it until I'm done. Since it's negative, I'm going to put a minus sign, and then I'm going to put a fraction, and it's negative, that's why I put a minus sign here. If this had been positive, that would be a plus, okay? Now the denominator technically dividing by the whole time, which was x plus 6. And it's done. Anyone who's ever been in my Algebra 2 class before, the day that I taught synthetic division, it's hard. It's a lot of steps, it's a lot of work. But then I would teach synthetic division and everybody would be like, oh man, if I could do that and still get the same answer I got with long division, why did we even do long division? Well, we used to test both. As of right now, the lesson I'm doing. I don't think I ever do long division, but don't hold me to that, because again, I'm only doing like this week yet, since it's the first time teaching this. But my guess would be if you could do either. So we're going to stick with this method. Flip it over. We're going to do 2 more. Okay, so if you guys look at the original polynomial, looks like there's just 3 terms, and we're dividing it by x minus 7. Okay? So, was there anything missing in the middle of that? No, it just goes 2, 1, 0. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 columns, 56. And then there's always 3 rows. So if you had to draw that yourself, you do a 3 by 3. Okay? What number is going to go out here that we're going to use? Not negative 7. That's minus 7. It's the opposite. You got, if you're going to miss it every time. Okay, then drop the 3 straight down. And add. So multiply the bottom times the 7, put it here, and then add straight. 3 times 7 is 21. And when you add, what do you get? Negative 8. So we're going to do negative 8 times 7. Negative 56. And if you add 56 and negative 56, what do you get? That's great. Because isn't this last box the remainder? And if there's 0 remainder, will I even have a fraction at the end? Next problem started with x squared. This should just be what? 3x, because you drop one, right? Every single time you write your answer, the exponent should always be one less than the original. Would the 8 have an x with it? No. Now, do I have to put plus 0? No. If there's no remainder, you're done. You just... It's not often that you guys get a 0 remainder, though, so don't get too comfortable with that. Like, most of the time, they're probably as the remainder. You guys okay with that one? Okay. Then one more down here at the bottom. I see 1, 2, but then I see 5 columns. Now remember, that box typically isn't there for you. Why in the world did I make 5 columns if there were only 4 terms? Read what it says. It goes from an exponent of 4 to an exponent of 2. Isn't x to the third missing? Okay, so wherever there's a term missing, you have to put a 0 as a placeholder. Okay? And it has to go where that exponent would be. So like the x to the fourth, which is 1, that second column should not be negative 45. It should be 0. And then negative 18, and then negative 72. If you do not put the 0 in, your final will be wrong. What number will I be using out front? 7 again. We're using the opposite. Drop the 1 down, and then you guys start doing your multiplication and your And if I were you, I might not write my final answer until you know if your numbers are right. I mean, that's just a suggestion. If you think you did it right, that's fine. You guys already have all your numbers filled in? Okay, well, there are the numbers. So double check and make sure you have those right. You should have a 1. Okay. So now, to write your final answer, 1x to the what? This is important. You guys have to know. No. It was a 4, so you drop 1 to 3. Plus 7x, what? Squared. Plus 4x, just x, right? Plus 10, which is my constant. And now we've got the remainder. So since the remainder is negative, if it had been positive, I'd have a plus sign there. 2 up top, x minus 7 on the bottom. Whatever you do, This minus sign is the negative. Could somebody put a plus sign here every time and then just stick a -2 up there? Sure. I just don't ever, I personally do not like to see plus negative. I put it here. All right, what do you guys think? Is it okay? You have, they might all be mixed together, so you've got to pay attention to whether there's a missing power or not, and if there is, stick a 0 in its place. That's it.